My first Connecticut Forum is going amazingly. I got to see John Hodgman shirtless, and I didn't realize that I'd always wanted to see that until I was graced with his Adonis-like figure and paleness. I think something like the Connecticut Forum is important because you're getting literally thousands of people in a room to watch an intelligent and interesting conversation, not to watch like a blood sport, not to watch a child dress up like a full-grown person and pretend to be something they're not. It actually gives me a little bit more faith that you can lure people to something of quality and substance that still has an entertaining element to it, but it's smart. That's great. I have less lack of faith in humanity now than I did maybe 80 minutes ago. The youth forum experience was great. It was humbling because their first question was, "Who the hell are you?" Without the hell, but I think that was essentially their emotional question. And that's nice because we were being like driven around in this wonderful sort of diplomatic entourage feel, and then these are just some kids who don't pull any punches and like, why do you do the things you do? What is it exactly that you do? Why are you talking to me right now? And how's it being you? So I thought it was great. I wish we had more time with them to explore a little further. I imagine if we stacked up their questions versus the ones we might get from the adult audience, I think pound for pound at least, the students will do better.
How do you feel
as a woman?
Amazing. If you have something to come out to, I mean, how does it feel to be African American in the field that you're in?
We'll answer this, right, John?
Sure.
We'll just take this.
If you can.
White people have been doing it for years. Just go right ahead, guys. No,
Let me explain your experience to you.
He's an expert. There's a whole book about expertise. People they've been primed for a certain type of comedy from someone that looks like me.
Yeah.
Not necessarily someone that sounds like me, but certainly someone that looks like me. And if you have ever seen Def Comedy Jam, that's sort of been the prototype of what black comedy is to most people. And it's knee slapping, and it's a very physical comedy, and I like to sit down. I'm lazy.
The sit-down comedy.
Sit-down comedy, the stand-still comedy, the poised comedy. So it's not been a problem in the great sweep of my life. I'm doing fine. I'm happy. I feel like I'm connecting with the people that want to connect with me. But there can be some moments when I did a show for a black comedy competition. And it was everybody who fit that general stereotype and then me. And I mean 80, 90, maybe 100 people total. It was out in Oakland many, many years ago. And I just did what I normally do. And it did not work. You know, it worked for me. I still felt like, okay, I'm doing what I do. But the audience wasn't prepped for it. The other comics were like, okay, this guy's really smart. He's doing his thing. But it didn't fit that room. And what happened out of that experience wasn't some devastating, I'm not doing the right thing, or I need to change who I am. It was actually a sad opposite moment. Another comic who was a finalist, I don't know if he won, but was a top 3 in that whole competition. And he had a name after a natural disaster or something like that. And he had and he came up to me backstage and he was like, yo, I used to do comedy like what you do. I was talking about politics and the news and all that stuff. And he said, I got this gig and my manager years ago and I was getting paid to do these cruise ships and just one thing led to another and he unbecame himself and he became this other thing. And he was frustrated because he was no longer doing the stuff that he felt was truly him, but he also had trapped himself because he found this whole market and money and fans that liked this new version of himself. So it actually made me feel great about doing whatever version of me that I am doing, which I think is closest to the true one. It's not really a problem. When I thought it might have been a problem is when I found out it was actually the opposite. Whoa, humor is important because it's what I've chosen to do with my life, and I don't want to be wrong.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.